Pollinators are essential for food production and the balance of healthy ecosystems. Ontario is home to approximately 400 different bee species, and these bees, both wild and domestic, are nature's finest pollinators. They pollinate our fruits, our vegetables and nuts, which provide close to 70% of the world's nutrition. For the past several decades, scientists have noticed a dramatic decline in wild bee populations, and beekeepers have reported high rates of colony collapse disorder among domestic honeybee colonies. The decline in pollinator populations is a complex global issue, tied to increased pesticide use, changes in land use, disease, and climate change.
So Wintergreen Studios is trying to respond to this environmental crisis by supporting and encouraging pollinators and creating opportunities to learn directly from the pollinators with whom we share our space. So we created Project Bee. Project Bee is a multifaceted program designed to raise awareness of the importance of pollinators for food production and a healthy ecosystem. It is also designed to help people, especially youth, to better understand how their behaviors impact pollinators. And we aim to empower citizens to take direct action to enhance native and domestic pollinator habitats in their local communities. In May of 2019, with funding from our supporters and guidance from partnering organizations, we built and installed 3 beautifully hand-painted hives. Just a few weeks later, 6,000 honeybees moved in, and by the end of that first summer, there were over 150,000. All of the hives overwintered to the spring of 2020, and they thrived through the summer while the pandemic raged on. In June of this year, 2021, we added another, yes, hand-painted, hive. So now we are 4. This buzzing bee village is located just south of our lodge in what was once called Field Number 9 when the land was farmed many decades ago. And so we named our hives the 9th Meadow Apiary. The 9th Meadow Apiary has become a sanctuary for honeybees, enriched by partnerships with local schools and regional, provincial, and national bee organizations. It has become the central teaching space for our annual educational workshop series and outreach work.
Hello, hi, welcome to the Bee Yard. I'm Alex Pedersen, the beekeeper, and we are opening one of the 9th Meadow hives inside the apiary. So say hello to our beautiful bees. So at Wintergreen, we offer 4 workshops a year as part of Project Bee and 9th Meadow Apiary. The first workshop, and actually all of the workshops, follow the year life cycle of the honeybee and honey production. So we start off with a workshop in the spring when the bees are ready to be unwrapped and flowers are starting to open and they are preparing for collecting nectar and pollen. The second workshop we have is in the beginning of the summer, and we open up the hives again to look at the growth, the success, and the production of the queen, as well as the bees themselves who are out foraging and collecting for nectar and pollen. The third workshop, which personally is one of my favorites, but it's honey extraction. So all of the hard work that the bees and the beekeepers do over the summer gets celebrated at the end of the summer and the early fall in an extraction workshop, where we also talk about the honeybee health and some of the antibiotics that we would use at the fall stage. I love the honey that's up at Wintergreen Studios. It's kind of an amber dark color. It's really rich, and I think you can taste the forests and the meadow around this place, which is just fascinating to me. And then our last workshop of the year, as we prepare as beekeepers to wrap our hives for winter, we come back into the apiary and I show folks how I wrap these hives and how they can do it in their own yards, or just general knowledge of what bees do in the fall, winter, spring, and summer. So with us today, we have one of the hives. We've selected a queen out so that she can be seen within the observation hive. And this is just one of the methods that we use as a part of Project Bee and the bee workshops to get you and those who are interested in bees a bit of an up close and personal look as to the life cycle of the honeybee.
In 2021, Project Bee expanded its reach by creating a community bee yard and volunteer beekeeping program. While we were slowed a bit by the lockdowns and the pandemic, we continue to work to offer opportunities for volunteers to learn about the year-round cycle of domestic beekeeping in exchange for taking part in the maintenance tasks associated with the apiary. The idea behind the community bee yard was to create a network of people looking to expand the hives and caring for these living beings, learning all about them from the inside of the hives out. These volunteers will learn the basics of keeping bees, but they will also get hands-on training and guidance from experienced beekeepers. From honeybee biology and beekeeping equipment to hive health, honey production, and seasonal responsibilities. We created the community bee yard as a way to encourage local citizens to learn more about beekeeping hands-on and to create the apiary in a way that they took ownership and responsibility of the hives themselves. So they can learn both from the beekeepers that are guiding them, but also from each other, and to see hands-on what colonies go through throughout a season.
This is one of the fun things about being a community beekeeper. We're going to see different things every time we open up a new hive. So right now I'm mostly seeing worker bees, a few drones, and a lot of brood. I'm seeing capped brood. These are baby bees that eventually will emerge. All of the worker bees over top, making sure that when those new baby bees emerge that they have responsibilities and work to do and that they're healthy and happy. Volunteers who come out to work in Ninth Meadow Apiary get that opportunity to support the bees that are here. Maybe they also have bees in their own backyard, and so they're learning techniques with us that they'll carry on in their own beekeeping practices. Or for folks who don't have space for bees, or maybe they live in town and they can't have bees, we love this apiary because it invites people of all knowledge bases to come in and participate, to learn and love a lot about bees and to pass that passion on either in their own beekeeping practices or with their friends and family about what they love about bees.
My name is Rena Eupitis, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about the plants and pollinators that are part of Project Bee. Project Bee is a multi-year, multi-faceted program involving schools in the local area, Wintergreen studios and our apiary, and our gardens. This project was only possible because of the support of TD Friends of the Environment and several generous private donors who, like us, are really interested in making sure that we do all that we can to create an environment that supports pollinators of all kinds. When we first started to plant the garden for the pollinators, or more to the point when we started to reframe our existing gardens for the pollinators, one of the things that we learned quite quickly is that the grand plans kind of take longer to enact than you might think. In 2019, we were ready to transform everything to native plantings, and digging and planting and watering and cultivating led to a small change in our gardens. So what we've learned over the years is, first, that there are a lot of plants already in our midst that are perfect for pollinators of all kinds. Insects, not only the bees, and birds and other pollinators that live in this area. So one of the first things that we've done is to let those plants that are already here find a place in our gardens. Two plants that are particularly popular, I'm going to say 3 or 4 plants now that I think about it, are goldenrod, asters, and milkweed. And we have them punctuated all through the gardens. The goldenrod gives an amazing amber color to the honey and provides sustenance for the bees well into September and even October. We also have a lot of black-eyed Susans or brown-eyed Susans, which are found naturally, but are also easy to get at local nurseries and garden supply centers. I'm not sure whether to call those native or domestic, and I think there's a blend of all of those in our gardens right now. Another lesson that we've learned is that mass plantings tend to be better than planting single plants. Single plants aren't particularly attractive to the bees in our apiary, and probably not to wild pollinators either, because there's not enough for them. As one of the teachers in the schools associated with Project Bee said, when you have a mass planting, it's like a bulk barn for bees. If they find a sea of black-eyed Susans, they're much more likely to gather there than for a single plant. That said, not every plant does well with mass plantings or monoculture plantings. Over the years, we've learned that some plants like companions. The coneflowers that are so much a part of our gardens are one plant that do much better with friends, with other plants around them. An important part of Project Bee has been working together with Bee City Canada. Since we started our apiary in 2019, Wintergreen has become a Bee City school, and we have helped forge partnerships with Bee City Canada and local schools as this project has unfolded. Being a partner with Bee City Canada has been incredibly important to us because the staff and volunteers there have offered workshops to children and teachers all over our immediate area. And this has been particularly useful during COVID because we've been unable to do some of this work in person. In this past year, Wintergreen Studios, along with our two Bee City partner schools, Brook Valley and Loughborough Public, have planted over 10 pollinator gardens with hundreds and hundreds of plants supporting pollinators in the area.
Hello, my name is Rosie Kerr, and I am the Project Bee coordinator for Wintergreen Studios. And my role has been to recruit schools to start pollinator gardens and to support them through the process of starting seeds, choosing plants, and creating their garden and maintaining their garden, as well as provide support with ties to the curriculum that they're working on, and also online content in the form of virtual workshops for the classes. We focused on perennials because schools were very concerned about starting something that wouldn't be successful. And so it was really important that we did what we could so that after a few years, the garden just takes care of itself. And that's the beauty of wild pollinators and of perennials. So then what we had was we had various parts of the project. One was we provided online workshops to the students, as well as I sent resources to the teachers to be able to integrate various parts of pollination. So that was part of the tie-in to the curriculum. So the citizen science part of Project Bee was really important because it made the students scientists, and it gave them a chance to really use the knowledge that they gained from the online workshops. For example, the workshop given by Bumblebee Watch staff talked about how to tell the difference between a fly and a bee, or a wasp and a bee. And so the students were very interested, and the parents were kind of telling us that it changed what their kids did outside. So they actually were looking really close and observing more. And because they learned how to use the iNaturalist app, they had a chance to work a little bit independently. Even my own kids they're at one of the schools where the project is, and I noticed them sort of looking more closely, and getting excited about what they found. And they were like, like, where's your phone? I need to take a photo. I think I've found a pollinator, you know? So that was a fun part that I think will keep going even longer than the project itself. So I think the students really enjoyed the workshop given by Shelley from Bee City, Canada, because they really got into the world of the bees and started to think about the social aspects of it and what does a bee want in its lifetime. And we did a game where all the elementary school students had to pretend that they were bees and they were going out to collect pollen and they were going out to collect nectar. So we talked a lot about the symbiotic relationship between plants and pollinators, and I think it really hit home for them why we were starting a pollinator garden. The kids just got into being bees rather than being competitive humans, which was pretty cool.
With our partnership with Bee City Canada, and Wintergreen Studios is a Bee City school, we've been able to host a number of workshops that have been available nationally and to the students and teachers who are in our local schools. In addition to the support from Bee City Canada, we have also been very grateful for the ongoing support of TD Friends of the Environment, as well as the Limestone Beekeepers Guild. The Limestone Beekeepers Guild has not only provided us with incredibly useful knowledge as we've foraged our own apiary, but they've also come to the rescue when things invariably go wrong in the keeping of these beautiful domestic bees. The Community Foundation for Kingston and Area has also been a supporter, as has the Davies Charitable Foundation and a number of private donors who are equally supportive of the project and care very deeply about pollinators and pollinating plants.